Hi, I'm Lulu Cook from Gut Feeling Nutrition Therapy, and I'm here to talk to you today about using food plans to support your recovery from food addiction, out of control eating, emotional eating, binge eating. Lots of different ways to think about it, but the bottom line problem for many people is the same. It's out of control and chaotic eating that doesn't follow any particular pattern, except that by the time you're finally sitting down to eat, you're likely to really go at it, making heaps of choices that you know aren't good for you. You don't really want to be making them. You know you're going to feel crap for it later or tomorrow. Um, and you know you're damaging your health, but you can't seem to stop and you can't seem to not do it. So, coming out of that kind of chaotic and out of control eating, many people decide, hey, I'm going to give a go with a real strict food plan. And that can look a lot of different ways. So I want to talk to you today about some of the pros and cons of different ways to approach that I've seen work well for clients or not. So at the maybe most extreme end, for some people it seems pretty extreme, the extreme opposite of out of control and chaotic eating would be a formal written food plan that you work out probably with a nutrition professional, a dietitian, someone who can actually really help you identify what you need to be eating, when, and in what quantities, and create a written plan around that to follow. Typically, at least in my practice, this does not mean somebody else is going to write down, you eat this much oatmeal every morning, particularly if you hate oatmeal, right? It's going to be a list of options for you that would meet the nutrient needs of getting your body started at the beginning of the day, making sure you have adequate and appropriate fuel, but you'd have choice about which kinds of items you choose to pop into that slot. These plans are often based around weighing and measuring, so that for some people can feel really strict and really structured, either in a real safe and comfortable way that they appreciate, or in a way of feeling like, wow, this is too specific, it's too intense, and I'm not really there with how I want to be approaching my food. There's no right or wrong answer to this. It's really your individual mindset and preferences and experience, what's going to work better for you. For many people, particularly at the beginning of coming out of that chaotic eating, when their hormones and their brains and their body weight and everything's just in flux, and you're probably detoxing off of some of the foods you'd been consuming in excess, often a lot of added sugars, highly processed foods, foods that have been chemically manipulated to appeal to you and to wreak havoc with your brain wiring. Coming off of that, it can be helpful to not have to make too many decisions about what would be a healthier, more balanced choice. So the written formal food plan where you weigh and measure everything in collaboration with a professional who's going to help you adjust it over time, so you know that you have that flexibility and that freedom, that can be really supportive for many people to get stabilized again. Some people are going to take that general idea but hold it a little bit more loosely. For instance, rather than weighing and measuring, they might use the method of eyeballing on the plate how much of the plate has vegetables or protein on it. They might use their body part and know that, hey, I'm going to make sure that I eat a serve of protein that's about the size of my palm at every meal, or whatever their specific situation calls for. The nice part about using that kind of less formal measurement is that, one, hands are super portable. We always have them with us. And two, they're personalized to our own size. So somebody who is like a big old bloke is going to have big hands, and that'll be a bigger portion size, whereas a little tiny lady would probably be more petite, have more petite hands, and smaller portions would be appropriate for her. So it is personalized that way, which is a nice plus to using that less formal method. Some people are just going to have a list of the things, like sort of a mental list that they keep of the foods they're not going to eat, foods that are unsafe for them and that they know trigger binging behaviors. Added sugars are a number one culprit on that list, as are other highly refined carbohydrates and flours, anything packaged and processed. Again, with that chemical manipulation to sort of short circuit our usual satiety and hunger signals. Those are prime candidates for being on the do not go there list. But I've seen everything. You know, there's no way to know what's going to be a real craveable food for any particular individual that might lead them into terrain where they don't feel calm and cool around the food. So I've seen hummus, I've seen carrots. They go so nicely together. For some people, neither one of them goes nicely, right? It's an unsafe feeling food, at least while they're getting back to a stable and balanced physical and mental state. So having that list of I'm just not going to eat that stuff could be a starting point for some people. I don't see that working real well for people over the long term. I've observed this both with individuals, and we also see it in the science that we do better when we're focused on what we're going to do and what we do get to enjoy and have. Just having that list of here's what I'm not going to do, here's what I'm not going to eat, that kind of restrictive diet mentality is pretty grim and cheerless. And I don't see people really able to stick with that for the long term. The people who move toward having really vibrant and lovely and peaceful relationships with their body and food are focused on here are the healthful, nutritious, fresh, wonderful foods that I am going to include with all of those nutrient-rich fruits and veggies and, you know, healthy proteins to keep my satiety and hunger stable at most meals, heart-healthy, brain-healthy fats, slow burn carbs that are going to just give me nice slow energy throughout the day. I'm including all of those. People who are focused more on that are naturally filling up on all these healthy things. There's not as much room and not as much trigger to go for the bingeable foods. And I see that being much more successful over the long term to be a real pattern of eating that people are able to stick to and feel good with. So they feel happy and healthy and high energy. So that would be sort of the concern about just freewheeling it too much or just sticking with a don't eat that list, grim and cheerless. And, you know, one thing about using a food list, I think it's important to remember that for some people, they may want to use it forevermore. Of course, with some updating as their physical situation changes, their health needs, you know, they may adjust that over time, that sort of food plan. But some people are going to feel quite happy to be weighing and measuring and following that kind of template or structure because it keeps them out of the terrain of their food addiction and feels really safe and comfortable so they can relax and be at ease. Other people are going to want to come to a place of stability and leave behind that chaotic, out of control eating, and then begin to really develop more of their own intuitive sense of what's called for. And so the food plan, the written formal food plan for them might not be a long-term thing. It might be sort of like training wheels on a bike to keep them safe whilst they're learning new skills and getting back in touch with what a healthy and balanced body feels like in relationship to food. So, you know, these formal written food plans I've seen be tremendous, tremendous tools to benefit people who are wanting to leave behind the chaotic and out of control eating and move toward feeling peaceful and calm about food in their bodies so that they're able to nourish themselves appropriately and just truck along feeling happy and healthy and high energy and not food obsessed and not self-hating and just really to have that freedom from food addiction. I see food plans being a useful tool for that for many people. They're not the only tool. There's a lot of ways to recover, but that can definitely be a great one. I'm curious to hear if you have any experience using a food plan yourself, what worked, what didn't work. Any questions about it, please just leave me a comment down at the bottom. And I wish you all of the peace and ease and freedom with your food and your body and your spirit that I possibly can. Thank you.